We're here to empower high-income earners to gain back control of your time through financial independence and stop trading your time for money and start letting your money work harder for you.
And hey, if you want to meet other high-income earners on their FIRE journey, join our High Income Earners FIRE Facebook group. Every month, we'll have guest speakers and we'll share about what our team is currently working on and allow you to share what you are working on with other high-income earners.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to High Income Earners FIRE podcast. I'm your co-host, Cody Ye. Again, Eileen Prack is absent and she might come back as a special guest. But today we have a very interesting guest, Jacob Perez. Jacob Perez has been a top producer in the mortgage broker industry. He started his business in 2018, and he's one of the top of 0.03% last year in Canada. And he also owns more than 70 units now. And so the angle he's coming from is also from the investor standpoint. He's not just another average mortgage broker that tried to make a deal. He's more of a relationship and definitely building a long-term relationship. So that being said, I'd like to welcome Jacob Perez.
Hey, Cody, thanks for having me.
So let's jump right into it. Let's go from how did you start your mortgage business? Where did that idea come from?
Well, the mortgage business, in all honesty, was really like a backup plan. It was like everybody else where I went to university, I did a master's, I was trying to do what these jobs out there in Toronto that I thought were prestigious, right? So I had a master's.
What kind of job?
Like I wanted to be like a sales guy at IBM or something like that, right? Tech sales, these kind of cool jobs. And, I had worked a lot of different industries. I was in digital marketing. I was in finance for the government. I moved to project management, data. I worked for a startup, but nothing really stuck. The only thing that was consistent was I was investing in real estate on the side. So bought a condo, then I renovated a single family house, duplex, triplex, started getting bigger. And as I kind of continued to really enjoy real estate investing, I always kind of made this promise to myself that I'm never going to take a job if it completely takes away my ability to keep investing in real estate. So I didn't want a consulting job where I worked 80 hours a week or something like that. I wanted a job where I could keep focusing on the real estate investing. And I always viewed being either a realtor or a mortgage agent as a backup plan. Hey, if this career stuff doesn't work out, I can go do one of those jobs. And where the breaking point really came was I got an interview for like a really high paying job. I think the base salary was 200 plus there's commissions, all this kind of stuff.
What is that job? You don't have to mention the name.
Yeah, it was a tech sales job, for a big, B2B company.
When was that? Which year was that in?
So that was 2017.
And you didn't take it?
Well, no. So I didn't get it. So I went through 8 interviews and I was crushing the interview process. And after 8 interviews, they're like, look, you know what? Like you just don't have enough experience in this field because for their products, it's like a 1-year sales process. So to bring somebody in and 1 year goes by and you pay them that money and there's no conversion, right? That's very risky from business perspective. But that was the point where I was like, I'm done working for people. Like I just spent a month and a half going through 8 interviews to not get a job. Like this is so ridiculous. So that's when I got my mortgage agent license and I really just hit the ground running with content and speaking to really the only thing I knew, which is real estate investing, and then kind of just learning as I went.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So how do you make that decision? You said you have 2 backup plans. One is real estate agent. The other one's mortgage broker. So why do you went to mortgage broker instead of realtor?
I think that at that time, being a real estate agent seemed a lot more saturated. Right. And then the other part about it was I was more curious to learn the financing side. The financing side just seemed more interesting to me. Whereas the real estate agent part, I actually thought I could probably have more success in that. And probably for my first year as a mortgage agent, the whole time I was saying, I should have been a realtor, right? When things are hard, when you're trying to grow the business, but it would have been hard on either side. But yeah, eventually I just chose the mortgage agent route and I'm super happy I went this route. It was definitely a better role because I could run my business from anywhere in the world. So you get a bit more time freedom, a bit more location freedom. And for me specifically, if you're working with real estate investors, it's much better to be the mortgage agent than the realtor because if you're a realtor, you're geographically constrained and that market just may not be a good market to invest in anymore. So if your whole niche was investment properties in Hamilton, Ontario, well, maybe Hamilton, Ontario is not that attractive as investment market. Whereas I'm a mortgage agent, I can go to Sudbury, to Windsor, to all the places where the real estate investors and where the money is moving.
That's very smart. And that's very smart. Mobility is one big thing and scalability too, right? So can you kind of tell us kind of your journey from 2018 to now? Like what was first year look like and what does this year look like for you?
Yeah, so I'll give you kind of a bit of a breakdown. So when I started, most people who are either a mortgage agent or a realtor, they come in their first year, people say, hey, what are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? And every single person probably says the same thing. They say, I want to make $100,000, right? That's that psychological number.
10K per month, I'm good.
Yeah. So for me, I wasn't really like that. For me, I was just kind of like, what sounds good in my head? So I said, I want to do 6 deals a month, right? Mm-hmm. And 6 deals a month is a lot more than 100,000.
What would that make you? 6 deals a month?
So the market has changed because mortgages are bigger now, right? Yeah. The mortgage sizes are bigger, which means the pay is more, right? Yeah. But I would say back then, that would have probably made you close to maybe around 230, 240,000.
There we go.
Yeah. So basically at the time I was like, hey, well, I feel like I can do 6 deals a month. That doesn't seem like a hard number to hit. Mm-hmm. And for my first 6 months, I was grinding, writing content, paying for coaching, doing anything I could to try to kind of get ahead. And it was moving really slow. And I was really feeling like I was struggling. Right. Mm-hmm. And then the second 6 months of the year, my business really started to pick up. And I ended up ending the year and I did exactly 72 files, which is exactly 6 deals a month, but they almost all came in the second half of the year. Right.
So why do you think that is? Why the first half, nothing, second half, 72 deals? Like what happened?
Well, there's a number of things. So one is, the customer life cycle, right? Somebody's not going to buy a house the first day you talk to them, right? It's going to take them a while to find a house. Then when they do buy a house, they might close in 30 days, 60 days. So there's a little bit of like a cycle there where you need time to close. The other part about it is also your skills are getting better. When you're in a conversation, you handle objections better when you have more experience, right? So in the beginning, I never worked in any kind of banking. So I'm learning everything as I go. So naturally, like my objection handling couldn't have been as good as in the back half of the year kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a saying, if people don't have rejection, they're not serious. They're not going to buy from you. If they're like hyped up, all good, they're not going to buy. Yeah. So that's first year. You end the first year of 72 deals.
Yeah.
How many people are on your team at that point? Or
so at that point, I was partnering up. My brother and another mortgage agent kind of had a team and they had staff. And I basically said, I'll give you 50% of my commissions if I could sit down with your staff and learn from
Kevin, right?
No, not Kevin, but okay. One of their underwriting staff who does more of like the administrative stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So for the first year, I kind of did everything by myself. And then we partnered up, and the next year we had 2 underwriting staff for 3 agents. Mm-hmm. And then now it's a little bit different. We have about 4 full-time underwriting staff for 3 agents. And then we have other staff members in our organization now. Mm-hmm. But, the good thing about this industry is that you can grow quite a bit year over year because your database is expanding. And the benefit of working with investors specifically as a mortgage agent is they do 2 things all the time. They buy and they refinance, right? And those are transactions for a mortgage agent. So, last year when I did, let's say like around 280 transactions, over 50% of those transactions
all on you, just yourself.
Yeah. All like over 50% of those transactions were clients I've already worked with. So I've already worked with you and you're coming back to refinance, you're buying again, you're refinancing, you're buying again. So your database of investors like returns much larger return on your investment than if you get a first-time home buyer who maybe 4 years later, they want to upgrade or things like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And I know we chat about this offline. Most of the successful business have a higher barrier of entry or they differentiate themselves by having a unique value proposition, right? And you said mortgage broker could be viewed as a commodity. So how do you think you set yourself apart from other mortgage broker?
Yeah. So, the last 4 or 5 years, the big value proposition of mortgage agents was really us versus the bank. Hey, come work with us because we have access to 50 banks or 70 or 100. You have access to one institution. And guess what? If you bank with TD Bank or whoever, we can place your mortgage there too. So we can keep you there, or we could bring you somewhere else where it may be a better product for you. So that's like a really easy value proposition to provide to a customer. Now, the challenge is now there's so many mortgage agents, right?
How many are there in Toronto? I know there's about 70,000 real estate agent, right? Maybe already went up after COVID, but how many mortgage agents are there in Toronto?
Probably
area?
4 years ago when they put out the data, they said there was a little over 20,000 mortgage agents. Right now, that doesn't include all the people who work at the banks and things like that. But that number has probably grown like crazy, right? Like, we're probably at least at 25,000, something like that now, because the barrier entry is so small. It's one test, right? Yeah. So you take one test, you could be a mortgage agent in 4 weeks, like in the current state of how they do the licensing, right? So how do you differentiate yourself? I think the one thing is that you have to be the best at marketing, because you have to bring the leads in the door, right? So getting yourself out there, I've been doing a lot of things like this: podcasts, seminars, my own content, meeting with people, networking, like whatever you have to do to kind of bring the leads in the door. And then from there, you have to just handle your leads so they don't leave. Like, you have to put a fence around your clients. You might be a mortgage agent where you say, you know what? I only do these types of properties, only finance these types of properties. But the minute your client wants a different type of property, you don't want to refer that client out, because now they're going to start working with this person for everything, right? So you got to learn how to be able to service every part of what your client may need. And I think the big thing that differentiates people is financial literacy. Because a lot of times clients are going to say, hey, my accountant said this, my lawyer said I should structure it this way. If you don't understand that stuff, you're not going to be able to hang in that conversation. You have to say, yeah, they said this for this reason, but guess what? That actually doesn't make sense in this situation for these 3 reasons, right? Yeah, I actually have that structure too. I have it on this type of property. Here's why I do it, and here's why I wouldn't do it in this situation, right? So you have to be able to understand the whole circle of professionals your clients can be working with, so that you can handle objections, or you could validate things, right? Hey, yeah, they said that. That makes total sense for your situation, right? So it's really like the financial literacy around everything around the mortgage process, which I think you can help differentiate yourself.
And I think something to add on to that is, because you own a big portfolio yourself, you went through a lot of the process that your clients has went through. So whether it's a mistakes or success, you can share about that and save people a lot of time. And you can speak to it because you've done it. Not just, oh, I heard about this, right? You actually deal with all those things, right? Whether it's accounting side, lawyer side, and how much to pay yourself, what's your goal, right, for the next 2 years and all that, right?
Yeah, the rapport building is on a completely other level, because it's completely authentic, right? When my clients buy a property in Sault Ste. Marie, like, I'll ask them 5 questions, not because I'm trying to build rapport, because I'm actually interested in, oh man, what's the cash flow like in Sault Ste. Marie? What kind of properties are you buying? How do you find, handling the property from 4 hours away? Like, I like those conversations. And that's one of the big benefits too, is that we get to learn from our clients. And I've definitely invested in markets that I probably would have never looked at otherwise, had I not been in this job and not been, doing the paperwork and seeing the cash flow numbers versus the purchase price and all that kind of stuff.
Do you guys have a lot, because our podcast is called High Income Earners Fire Podcast. Do you guys have a lot high income earners as clients?
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of our clients are real estate investors. So, those aren't necessarily high income earners, because sometimes, you have,
they're rich on paper.
Yeah. They have a big net worth, but they don't have a high active income.
Yeah,
right?
They don't pay themselves much, right?
Yeah. So that's one style, but yeah, we definitely have a lot. And I think that, it's funny because the people who make really high income, they're so focused on their own business that they're not usually getting involved in these other things, at real estate investing or whatever it may be, because they're just so focused on the active income. But there's so many different ways they can leverage that without being an active partner, where they can take advantage of real estate investing or things like that. But certainly, like, we work with a lot of clients like that. The good thing of being a mortgage agent is that we're self-employed as well, right? So I have a business, I have a corporation, I have too many corporations. I wish I had less corporations so my accounting bill wasn't so high, right? But I could at least speak to, hey, here's how you should structure things. Here's somebody in my network who might be able to help you. Here's a way where you don't have to claim as much income, but you can still get what you want from a borrowing perspective, right? Just going through all those different things, and then just giving real honest advice. like, hey man, if I was you in your position, I wouldn't be bothering trying to go pick up a duplex and spend your weekends doing that. I would actually go be an active partner on a bigger deal with somebody else, or an investment partner on a bigger deal with somebody else. And here's how you approach it. And I've even connected different people too, where it's like, hey, like, you want to buy in this market, talk to this person and build some partnerships that way.
Mm-hmm. And that's really good too, because when you help people, when I think about they're going to get mortgage, who are they going to go to? Mm-hmm. Right. That's really good. So that's segue into your real estate investing. Like you say, you started with single family, duplex, triplex, and all that. What is the most 3 recent deals that you have done?
So 3 most recent deals I've done. So this is going to show how scatterbrained I am as an investor, because these are all very different, right? So the last 3 deals I think we did one was a 23 unit building in Aylmer, Ontario, so near London, Ontario. And we got a 80% vendor take back at 4% interest for 5 years. So that was like a huge, so the financing on that deal was really the very attractive part of the opportunity.
Wow.
Then I also acted as a money partner on a fourplex on a joint venture in Sudbury. So we're burning that. We're doing the refinance now. And then prior to that was probably my deals that I'm doing in Florida right now. So I'm building 3 houses down in Naples, Florida. I know I referred you out to a realtor friend down there. You checked out some stuff too.
Yeah.
So basically one is going to be a knockdown rebuild Airbnb burr in Naples, Florida. That's a pretty advanced play. I wouldn't do that if you're new to real estate investing. Then I'm doing like a straightforward fourplex in Sudbury burr deal. And then we got a 23 unit building. That's going to be a longer term project.
Yeah. Longer stabilization. So we have different real estate investors come on. I would like to ask you to touch your crystal ball. And what does your crystal ball say? I know we're playing long term, so we don't really care, but I want to hear from you. What do you think the interest rate is doing? And if anyone is in a position of getting refinanced, what should they do? Like the mortgage is coming up, all of a sudden now the interest rate is double or triple. Like, what is the game plan here?
Yeah, I think that right now the main thing to think about is weathering the storm, because we're in the middle of a storm right now. The interest rates have gone up like very significantly. Payments are up very significantly, right? So all those things that we talked about, cash flow, or making sure you cash flow in the event, you have vacancy in the event, it's a higher interest rate. That stuff is now starting to be a lot more like considered, right? In the past, you're like, okay, can you consider that stuff? Because if I do, I can't get in a property because I'm not going to win the bid ever, right? Yeah. So there'd be some challenges like that. But I think, my expectation is what I've been saying for a while is I don't see the government helping people out by reducing the interest rates right now. What I see them doing is bringing in other forms of intervention. So they can keep the interest rates high, but give some people financial relief by saying like, hey, we're actually going to extend amortizations to 40 years or something like that on these bank mortgages that we regulate, right? And that's something I've been bringing up for the last like 4 months, and it just started. So now with insured mortgages, one of the 3 insurers is telling people, hey, if you got a mortgage through our insurer and you can prove to us that you can no longer qualify under the ratio guidelines, we'll actually extend your amortization up to 40 years to give you payment relief. So these are people who are on a 25-year amortization, their interest rate's gone up like crazy, and now they can drag it out to a 40 potentially if they qualify.
Do you mind sharing what 3 of them are you talking about and which is this one?
Yeah, so there's 3 major insurers in Canada who insure the mortgages with less than 20% down. So one is Sagen, one is CMHC, and the third one is Canada Guarantee. So Sagen is the one who is offering this right now. The expectation is the other 2 will follow suit, but Sagen is the first one running with it.
Well, here you go. That's some information I don't even know. I know CMHC, but the other 2 I never heard about. So if you guys have any question about, you might not be able to refinance or even continue having a mortgage, you need to consolidate something, then, definitely reach out to Jacob for help. Now, what are the ratio of people that are over leveraged comparing to 2018 to today? What do you think? What is that alarming ratio?
I think that, for the first time in the last 6 months, I've had clients where, there was not even, the highest interest rate private second mortgage that could consolidate their debt. So we've had a situation where we've actually had to advise people to sell their property. That's the first time in my career, like there was just no solutions at all for people, that existed. Right. So I think, are people over levered? Like 100%. Like there's no doubt. Like, we have a society that's basically built on debt. You need to borrow to stay in the game. But, if you borrowed only in the last year and you over leverage yourself, now it's a tricky environment. Right. So I think that, it comes back to financial education. What can you do to earn more money and what can you do to reduce your costs? Right. And a lot of people make financial decisions based on psychology and not based on dollars and numbers. Right. So a lot of people say, I'm an accountant, I'm a lawyer. These are what are considered high status jobs in the society. And as a result, I should be able to buy the $1 million house and have the Mercedes and have this because I make more money than all my peers around me. So who else can afford this? Those are the stuff I should buy. But you need to go you need to look at the dollars because maybe no one can afford these things. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe no one can actually afford them if they're living appropriately. So for example, like one thing I do, I talk a lot about, don't be afraid to rent where you live. Like where I live right now.
I'm renting as well.
Yeah. Like I pay $3,300 a month in rent. Now this house would cost around 1.2 million to buy. So that means in order to buy it, I need to put $250,000 down. That's something I don't have to do if I'm renting. And then also the mortgage payment, if you took mortgage payment, property tax, insurance at today's rate, that would be almost $6,000 a month. So I'm literally saving almost $3,000 every single month just by renting it. And then I'm allocating those funds towards, things that bring me more cash flow.
And even if you don't count the principal pay down, right, which is usually half of the mortgage, well, some of my mortgage just blew over almost at trigger rate. But I just say it was traditional 50% 50% goes to interest payment. The other 50% goes to principal. That's still maybe 4,500. So you could have rented for cheaper right now. Yeah. That's when it kind of the tilting point, right?
Yeah.
More mobility.
People don't think about those things, right? They go, oh, well, I have a family I have to own. What if this? My kids go to school here, whatever it may be, right? But no, there's things. And then if you're a young person, man, you have so many opportunities. Like maybe all you have to do is set your house up on Airbnb and every 2 weekends a month, you go stay at your parents and hang out with them. And you make an extra $400 a month, and that helps with your payments, right? Like there's ways that you can generate additional money, but it's the mindset of like, hey, I'm going to go do this kind of thing. Like right now, like I pay somebody almost $30 an hour. I probably won't continue this because it's pretty expensive, but right now I'm paying somebody $30 an hour just to manage my inbox. They go in there twice a day. They go through the emails and they filter things and tell me what's most important to respond to. So it's like there's ways that you can make money out there. It's just you need to have the willingness to do it. And I think the good thing about this, recessionary environment we're in, not that it's good because I feel very bad for a lot of people who are in a tough situation, but financial literacy is going to be at the forefront now because it's going to make people realize, hey, this is really important kind of thing.
And then this kind of period of time will flush out the people who does not know the money game, or even though will flush out people who knows the money game, but the one who truly knows it, never over leverage or know how to mitigate if they over leverage and get out of it or survive for longer will come out of this so-called recession a lot stronger. And a lot of people are already seeing some of the people in the industry, including some, like, I don't treat them as a competitor, but I've seen other business closing down because I don't know what happened, but we're starting seeing, business on that side. Right. So let's jump right into our fire round. Are you ready for our 5 interesting questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you become a billionaire tomorrow, what will your day look like?
Oh, wow. If I became a billionaire tomorrow, that would be pretty crazy, but I think it'd be pretty straightforward. You'd start your day with, I'd read a book, I'd go to the gym, I'd meditate, and that would be the start to every single day because why not? Right? Like you have the time. There's no reason that you wouldn't do those things. And those are things I love doing. I like working out. I love reading and I love to meditate. But sometimes like the way I like to meditate is like, I like to go 45 minutes. So that's a lot of time in the day. So I can't do that every day, right? I have to choose. Will I do that or will I work out? And most of the time I'll choose working out, right? Even like reading books, right? Like that takes time too, right? So I think that would be the big thing I would change. And then I would probably keep running the business. I would keep running the business and just play it more from a management perspective and not be so nitty gritty in the transactions kind of thing.
Cool. Now, next question. If you lose everything, all the monetary side of things, but you have your brain, you have your knowledge, we drop $500,000 to you, which is like a lot of our high income earners probably have $1 million somewhere. What would you do to start again in this environment right now?
I think the first thing I would do is I would relocate. So I would actually locate to a market that is most conducive towards not having a lot of money, right? So for example, if I wanted to go really hard in real estate investing and I had to be in Canada, I might relocate to Sudbury. I might relocate to Edmonton. I might relocate to a market where I can really run really fast if I have if I'm getting into good deals, right? I think that's the first thing I would do. And then I would go back to probably exactly what I'm doing now, build a business I can do from any location, something commission based. And then, eventually get back into real estate investing, but that won't be my first priority. My priority would be active income and investing second. And right now, I think that's where there's a bit of a discrepancy, is a lot of people are focusing on real estate investing, which is a great thing to do, but they're over levering, they're borrowing the down payment and the mortgage, and they're needing a huge valuation to get out of it, but they don't have any money for a rainy day to support if things don't go good. And I think that's the big blind spot right now.
Yeah. And that's, a lot, me at, I teach stock option and I invest in real estate. We have active coaching business. We have, we're starting the short-term rental arbitrage stuff. The reason we do so many things is just like what you said, right? Sometimes one side of things could stop running. For example, all of a sudden investment is just, you can't refi, you can't do much. You're weathering the storm. If your active business is doing well, great. You still have income coming in, right? And that'll help out. If you have 3 or 4 streams of income, any one of them goes, it's like a multifamily. If you have 20 units, 2 are vacant, you're fine.
Yeah.
Right. But if you have multiple stream of income, then one goes down or one stays, kind of red for like 3 years, you're cool. Right. Cool. Next question. If you're a podcast host, who would you want to interview? It could be someone who's alive or not alive.
Oh, well, my hero right now at the moment is definitely Elon Musk. So that would be like my dream guest. I mean, if I'm sure your audience is paying attention a little bit to what's happening on Twitter right now. And I think it's kind of like just so entertaining and just a breath of fresh air, like in the social media space for the first time.
If you can ask Elon Musk one question, only one question, what question will you want to ask him?
I'd probably want to ask him, and I've watched him on a lot of podcasts, so I've seen him answer a lot of questions, but I think the main thing would be, hey, if you had to stop all your projects right now, but choose one, which would be the one that you would choose? Because he's involved in so many things that are huge for humanity, right? Mm-hmm. You look at like Neuralink, that's controversial, but that's, could be huge for humanity. You look at colonizing Mars, you look at what he's doing on social media. I would just be curious, does he think what he's doing on Twitter is actually maybe the biggest for humanity? Yeah. I think that could be what he actually thinks in his head, right? Because he's definitely not buying it for the money, but he probably will make it profitable. But it's, so that would probably be the one. But Elon Musk would be up there for sure. And I got a few others that I would probably like to have also.
Cool. What are some of the ways you're giving back?
So I think like when it comes to giving back and things like that, it starts with obviously like your family, right? Like that's the most important thing. So since we've been able to grow this business, make more money than I ever thought I would make in my life. I'm not a billionaire, but like I never thought I was going to make the kind of money I'm making now when I was like in university. Right. Yeah. And so I think the most important thing is like definitely help my family as much as possible. I have like immigrant parents, just like kind of a lot of people in Canada. It's a common story. Mm-hmm. And so, recently we just got to the finish line of like renovating my parents' house, something they wanted to do forever. That was like a huge thing in our family, helped our parents get a place in Florida so they can retire. So things like that with the family. And then the one cause that I don't know why, but seems to be like near and dear to me, and not a lot of people agree with this, is just like, if I see a homeless person, they get all my cash in my pocket. Like it's just homeless people in Canada, I feel so bad for, because it's cold here. The weather conditions are so bad. And we have so many people who live off the government, who pretend they have a disability, they pretend they have something wrong with them, and they have a home and they have air conditioning and they have heat and all those things. And you have all these people who probably some of them were part of the society and contributed taxes and all this stuff at one point, and they're literally just laying there on the street. And less people have cash. So a lot of people just can't even give them money if they wanted to give them money, right? So that's definitely something that concerns me about, a problem we have here. And I'm sure it's the same around the world, but that's one cause I care a lot about.
Yeah. Kind of on a side note, there's 2 more interviews coming up. I was interviewing the ER director for Mount Sinai, and they're raising a fund, an endowment to research in mental illness and depression. We have 2 episodes coming up. And a lot of the homeless people on the street, you might be surprised, because when I heard that story, a lot of them were bank executive, and they would get to the one point where they just got kicked out from home. No one can take anymore. So you'll be surprised. And a lot of people, those people really need help, but they don't have a place where they just don't know where to give up kind of on themselves. And they just need a little bit of pull, right? So good job for doing that. Definitely never heard that answer before. Okay, last question. Where can our audience find more about you?
Yeah, the best place to connect with me is on Instagram at Jacob Perez 10. You can find me on our website, www.synergymortgagegroup.com. But Instagram is where I'm probably most active. So that'd be a great place to connect.
Why 10? Why Jacob Perez 10? Is there first 9 taken?
You know what? Jacob Perez was taken. And that was always my number in sports growing up, 10. So I just kind of rolled with it. And that's it.
Cool. Okay. So everyone who wants to know more about real estate investing or mortgage, you need some help to consolidate things or just need a game plan, reach out to Jacob Perez. And thanks for your time, Jacob.
Thanks for having me.
All the links mentioned in this episode are included in the show notes. And if you love this episode, please leave us a rating and review on Apple iTunes. The link is also included in the show notes. And we would really appreciate your help in spreading the word to more high income earners on how they too can maximize both their time and money.
Also, if you still haven't joined our High Income Earners Facebook group, you are missing out on High Income Earners community, where we help each other reach our own version of FIRE.